Okay, welcome everyone. We'll start our lesson 3. Today lesson will go through LO3 learning outcome 3. As you know me, my name Anjum Sattar. And please, if you have any question, drop me email anjum@co.uk. I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as possible. We'll start. Okay, so during we'll do a bit recap, what we learned during our lesson 1, lesson 2. And during our lesson 1, we discuss about the contract law. During lesson 2, we discuss about the insolvency, and we discuss, how the company can be, and we discuss about the Company Act 2006. So today lesson understand the impact of the criminal law on the businesses and the professional organization. We've been given the legal and principal legislation, case laws, and ethical codes that will be in our discussion. 5 professional code of ethics we already mentioned in the previous session as well. Status of each law regulation. When we call criminals, we need a bundle of evidence to be charged someone. And if somebody not following any legislation, that come under criminal. Like if you're not following GDPR, Health and Safety Act, um, Equal Pay Equality Act 2010, and so on. Okay, so we can look around these elements and the consequences, malpractices, professional accountant, what we can or what we can't, and the fraud and and money laundering trainings and requirements and constitute of money laundering, what is consist of. We have a money laundering act, we have so that will be in our discussion as well. So we've been given the assessment criteria. 3.1 analyze the relationship between the legal principle, legislation, case laws. 3.2 will go through element and consequences of malpractices and frauds and bribery act we have. It can be imprisonment, bribery act 2006, which we'll discuss, the money laundering legislation, money laundering officers, that will be all in discussion, and explain the offenses and penalties related to the computer misuse and the cyber crime. So 3.1 analyze the relationship between the legal principle, legislation, and case law. Ethics and the behavior. Ethics are the set of the moral principle. Ethics, the values and exemption and beliefs which constitute right and wrong behaviors, and ethics values and held the individual and the organization in business. And that's like if you're a member of, are you doing business with any professional bodies, you have to follow those ethics, and ethics are the moral principle, like we discussed, which we'll go through in the following slide. Okay, so organization may be defined ethical code. They can look around the compliance side. That's the practices. Account and work in the public interest. So always account and duty to work in the public and the strong moral value essential to the professions. Objective of the accountancy profession, the mastering of the practical skills and techniques, development and ethical approach to work, acknowledgement of the duties to society, objective outlook, and rendering services to the highest standard and achieving acceptance by the public. So an accountant code of professional ethics aims to help them to achieve those objectives. Okay, so member of professional bodies such as qualified accountant often have the code of ethics to guide them with ethical dilemma arise. The several code of ethics have been developed, which broadly similar, which we can look around the profession, body of theories and skill. We can look around items of the common code of values. That's which we can look around acceptance to society. So professional always work in the certain essential and defined characteristic. When we'll say, they should have a quality those. So when we're looking the applicability of accounting profession, body of theories and knowledge. So technical skills such as auditing and accounting standard, like if you should have, if you're doing dealing with the tax, you're well aware of the Financial Act, the new tax rate, what penalties if you don't pay on time, and what sort of the legal parameters should be aware of. acquired by the training and education. That's why CPD, one of the professional code of ethics. So let's, we'll do in this way. So a couple of you in the previous lesson had with me PPCIO. To remember that professional popular people chat in offices. So what you can remember popular, the famous people, popular people chat in office. To remember these professional code of ethics is good to be remember this abbreviation and the word that will help us, Okay. So which we'll look around first is the professional behavior. So accountant should keep the professional behavior, not conflicting information, not biased information, always telling the true and fair information. Second is the professional competencies and due care, which is mean up-to-date knowledge. Up-to-date knowledge and skill is very important as a professional accountant. Third, we look around confidentiality. C is called, if you look for PPCIO, so that will help you. Confidentiality, always, we have an act as well, which is 2018 Data Protection Act, Privacy Act. So those we can look around. And confidentiality is very important. We keep the client information is confidential, up to date, and relevant. So that's we need to be. And then I is the integrity. Yes, what we need to be do honest. So a detail is always honest. So honesty is very important. So we can look around honest. And next we look around objectivity. Objectivity. So our objective of the profession, we need to be look around. Objectivity mean, not biased anything. Your objective to provide the true and fair information to your client. So we need to be make sure we should provide it, accordingly. Yeah. So we have to do CPD is up to date knowledge. So that's, the 5 professional code of ethics, guys. Really, we need to be keep in mind when we deal with the so adherence of the common code of values and the conduct. So we need to be make sure established by administrating bodies maintain the objective of the outlook. We look around the ethical standard, which is if you're a member of ACCAT, IFA, or any other, so these are the key on the professional code of ethics. Huh? Professionally, we can trust act in the public interest. So always everything we need to be think about the public interest, wider interest. Maybe you're protecting tax, you're breaking and saving. We can do tax planning is illegal, but we need to be look around tax planning legal within the law, but we can the back end we getting the commission, we save your tax such and such, and you give. This is unethical and this is immoral and this is not legally correct. Contingent fees is not allowed as an accountant. You can charge £1,000 an hour, but you could provide the services to your client accordingly, the quality and the up-to-date information. But you can't say, I will save your this tax, you will pay me this fees. No, you can't. This is illegal to do so. What behave ethically, law and regulation, reputation and standing and maintain the public confidence. Protect, for we need to be look around, avoid, conflict of interest, be objective and act in the public interest and keep, sensitive information confidential, be straightforward and honest, maintain the professional knowledge and behaviors and skill, and act within the spirit and letter of law. Yes, that's, which we need to look at. Okay, so fundamental ethical, which we discussed earlier, we discussed professional competence, maintain up-to-date knowledge, integrity, straightforward, honest, implied dealing with, yes, confidentiality is always keep, not disclose the information, and professional comply with the relevant laws and regulation and avoid any action that will bring reputation to disrepute. Yes, that's we need to be think about. Okay, conceptual framework, guys, this is very important. An accountant code of professional ethics are set out the basic problem solving procedure. Identify the threats to the fundamental principle, evaluate the threat, apply the safeguard, and safeguard is very important. Like if you're issuing the vouchering, not segregation of duties. So someone those deal not raise the purchase order, same person making the payment be dealing and giving the money into cash. Yes, of course, that's we need to draw the safeguard. Different people deal with different things. So safeguard created by the professional and legislation and regulations and working environment. We have a quality control. So we look around the threads. If you don't do it, self-interest, self-review, advocacy, familiarities, and intimidation that leads to compromise our professional code of ethics. So we need to be reduce those threads and we can draw the safeguard. So that's why the word safeguard will carry on using. So please, we need to be well aware. Principle and rule based. So when we'll say principle, ethics uh, are the principle. These are moral principle, like, rigorous comply with the spirit, yes, bigger picture, flexible for the changing circumstances, promote development of skill and judgment, and create a culture of ethical awareness and encourage, personality responsibility. Okay, so you have to look around the clear cut, correct course of actions will be the more obvious, which we can look around easier to enforce. Okay. So we need to look around disadvantages of principle and ethical approach are the rules, based. So not easy sometimes, right and wrong, because different people have different interpretation of the ethics, right and wrong. In Germany, another part of the world, more focus on the rule-based approach, clear cut. In the law what is the written, what is the right and wrong. But in ethics, sometimes interpretation of the things can be like some culture, maybe child labor, they perceive is a good it's okay because don't have to fulfill the basic need, don't have a money. Loopholes can be found. Yes, tick boxes mentalities can be. We're not looking beyond just the laws. We have moral. It's more than laws. So complying with the law, always look around criminal and the civil laws. Of course, when we'll say criminal, if you're not following the legislation like GDPR, health and safety, those come under the criminal. Civil, if you not follow the ethics, those set the awarding body, they can revoke your they can, of course, withdraw your license and things and fines and penalties and damages can be affect, whole community, punishable fine, maybe imprisonment in the civil law related conflict with the community that the concept of the punishment does not apply. Accountant may be affected law which may not be obvious health and safety legislation, employment protection, equality laws, and these, accountant business can be, and they have to be follow these legislations and money laundering trainings is becoming very, very important. So accountancy is in profession, International Federation of Accountant, we have to follow their legislation, their code of ethics. They set, then we have a consultative committee of accounting bodies. So they have a 5-member ICAEW, Institute of Chartered um, England and Wales. We have Institute of Chartered Accountant Services. We have Chartered Institute of Public Financial Accountant, and then sponsoring bodies AAT, and we can look around these, then HMRC, of course, look around the tax and National Crime Agency is very important, tackling these organized crime such the bogus tickets, human trafficking, and fraud and money laundering. So business ethics and the professional values, we can look around key principle. If you're working in the public office, you have to follow these ethics: integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, and honest, as like working in the council, working, and these are also known as NELON principle, which is given by, and these principle working in the public. So you have the most important duty for you to be work in the wider interest of the public. These are code of conduct rules. So business ethics is the professional value. The code of conduct is designed to influence on the behavior of employees and it set, the procedures used to the specific ethical situation. Violation of the code may lead to the sanction by the organization, including termination of the employment. The code of practices is adopted by the professional organization regarding such as the member in profession. Code of practices are used in to support the legal duties. An example of AT, Code of Professional Code of Ethics, ACCA. Advantages are effective ethical program, improve communication, improve trust, improve, So reduce risk. So active leadership, yes, tone at the top and buy-in from the employees and suitable training. Sustainability is very important. You have to look around. If you promote these, the business can be, so accountant need to be meeting the needs of current generation without compromising the needs of the future generation. You have to look around sustainable development, like cutting the paper or electric or all the cost. You need to look around the corporate social responsibility, helping local people, giving jobs to the local. So we have to sustainability focus on three things, which is economic, financial. You have to, of course, you have to earn the profit. You have to reduce your expenses. Ultimately, that will help to business sustain. Social, you have to work in the best interest of the society. And environmental, you have to look around less energy, less pollution, sport policy. That's all we need. We need to be look around the corporate governance and risk ethic. Corporate governance is a major issues in the directors and the managers. Many organization is main area to be focused ensuring the companies. So corporate governance, every company have to publish the report on the corporate governance, guys, so we can find the company of your choice. Like you can look around Unilever, Asda, Morrison, Tesco, or various other companies of your choice, their professional code of ethics and corporate social responsibility reports. That is, we can look around. Then we have a 3.2, explain the elements of the consequences and the malpractice. Corruption include the uh, illegitimate, the use of the office, and may, include the range of different types of crime. Bribery act is limited to the giving, acceptance to the payments. Of the illegitimate, the advantage, negligence, and the act of omission, which fall, the short of the standard and reasonable. So we need to be a reasonable man for claim in intelligence. Negligence, it's to be exceed. So we need to be look around. So is necessary to establish the duty of care. It's a duty of care not fulfill. Of course, we can try our best here. So duty of care of teacher, duty of care of nurse, duty of care about accountant, care about the client in the best interest of the public at the crime, not okay. Breach of the duty, the loss fell and defender, and the scope of duty was the foreseeable consequences of the breach of the duty. Yeah? So, what is the financial fraud? Application of the fraud is usually defined as when individuals use their own name to apply the financial product, but use the falsy information, counterfeit document in the application. So these two types of the fraud can be carried out by individual under their own name and by someone who has stolen their identity. So we can look around example of identity theft, mortgage fraud, credit and debt card fraud, fake charities, price and lottery fraud, and debt collection frauds. These come under. So corruption is the bribery or any other behavior in relation to the person interested. We can look around the responsibility to public and private sector violate, which is like, lot of, the bribery act in embezzlements and then fraud. And so we can look around example include, not to the limited to the bribery act. We can look around in hospitality industries and various other the services. So we have a sales good act 1979. If good not fit for purpose, you as an individual, as the client, you have a right to return. So we can look around what is the corruption. However, the hospitality industry is really covering the bribery. Someone an authority would be looking, such things at the level of hospitality offer, the way in which was provided, and the level of influence the person. And facilitation payments, the is the additional payment induced to the official to perform the routine function or otherwise the obliged to perform. For example, additional payments to the custom and officials and priorities processing the import of your goods. Yes, we can look around the facilitation and the fraud is usually, always clear in some country. United Kingdom, Germany criminalize, yes, which we can facilitation of the payment abroad. We can look around other countries And it's a lot of, the money laundering. Of course, we have cyber crime and all of the institutions. We have office of, we can look around the IT, which is, all the calls and things, which is GCGHQ. Yeah. So that's deal with the cybercrime. So corruption, well, we have a bribery act which we need to be followed. Of course, we need to look around the companies is registered in the FTSE index and maybe not really. The World Bank has stated the bribery was become a 1 trillion industry. Yeah. If you've been bribed or you give the bribe, it's come under the bribery act. It can be imprisonment 5 to 14 years maximum. Yes, self-regulatory accounting bodies. We can look around the financial reporting council standard, which we have to be follow in working in the professional accounting. Anybody, any question, guys? Those are listening, those are attending. Professionalism may also be interpreted, it's in different in the minds and the people's thought. So that's, we need to look around the professional behavior. So we have to look around the really following the ethics. Reactive and proactive approach, taking the responsibility and the negative consequences of accounting practices, and were appropriate, amending those practices to remove those consequences. Proactive seeking out and positively contributing to the public interest. Example of accounting fail to identify the risk. That's, the special purposes entities established by Enron to hide, the debt may not be actually incorporated into Enron main account. Yeah, that's, the proactive approach. Example of accounting professional recognize the guidance, how they carried out environmental audit and accumulate and appropriate, the metrics include within the environment audit and not available. So practices were removed and requirement from the accounting professional to include office of balance sheet and finance and so these are some changes after the Enron scandal. These happen. Some example. So we always need to be look around the public interest is the most important, guys. So everything, whatever it is we do, we need to look around the wider interest of the society, not just for the client. We have to look around the client interest, but violating the law, if that's, that's illegal. Okay, just so you've been given some information about it. Then we have a 3.3. We can look at explain the offenses and penalty related. So money laundering is the process of the proceed crime, and we have a Proceed Crime Act 2002. We have a criminal property if you're holding like a stolen property, then those come under terrorism if you helping or dealing or you're transferring the money. So it means you're helping, so that can be charged, under this. So we need to be very careful. So money laundering offense under the Proceed of Crime Act 2002, concealing, dispensaries, converting, transferring, or removing the criminal properties, or taking part in the arrangement of facilitate acquisition under the control of the criminal properties, and acquiring and using the possessing criminal property. That's, money laundering and under the Proceed Crime Act, which can be lead money laundering to 14 years. If you're tipping off, 5 years. If you failure to disclose, that can be 5 years as well. So these we need to be well aware, identify identity of suspect, information, and the knowledge of the suspicious, and whereabout, the money laundering the properties. Okay. Fraudulent behavior, the fraud can be defined as the intention or the deception. Yes, when you do intentionally think and deceive someone is come under the fraud. So those are the many types of fraudulent behaviors in connected companies. Insider dealing, that's under come fraud, money laundering, bribery, fraudulence and wrong. Yes, trading, and these come under the fraudulence. We can look around the Company Act, which we discussed in the previous lessons as well. So you have to look around the legislation. If you don't follow, that's also come under the offense. So business name, sometime we need to be make sure that under the company it's wrong, or namely someone else's name and using their identities and things. So we need to be look around. Company director can be disqualification act under the 1986. any person who act the contravention of disqualification order may be undischarged, bankruptcy, the guilty of offense, and maximum penalty 2 years imprisonment. Yes, and convention 6 month imprisonment that can be, which we can look around. Okay. Pune company, which is we look around the case laws, apply the person as the director and the shadow director of the company for 12 months. The provision apply 5 years following the liquidation, the prevent of the person being a director of the company with a similar name and the name suggested association or the previous companies without the leave the court and the criminal offense, contravene and the provision and punishables, imprisonment and the fine in addition. So these are some case laws which we can refer to in our assignment purposes. I'll explain the offenses and penalties related to the computer. We have a Computer Misuse Act 1990, the key on the piece of legislation, Criminal Act, with the processing and computer without the appropriate consent and the permission. Computer Misuse Act 19 is the legal defense against the hacking, allowing to state and the prosecute. There are the further laws as well being introduced. The offenses are unauthorized access with the intent to commit a facilitate the commission further offenses. So that's we need to unauthorized act. So fraud act, we have a 2006, directly change the law of the criminal fraud before the fraud act is came into force, secretary fraud offense under the theft act 1978, obtain the property by deception, obtain money transfer by deception, obtain the security advantages by deceptions, and obtain the services by deception. And the fraud act, all old, three deceptions and all, those we need to be look around these guys and we need to be followed. So maintain, the professional independencies. An accountant should be avoid bias, conflict of interest, undue influence on others. That's which we need to be protect our goodwill as a company and maintain the professional independencies, financial interests. You keep your away, don't buy the shares if you're doing audit for the company. And your family relationship, you should disclose it. Direct financial interest or indirect financial interest can be your family become richer, maybe. So we have to draw the safeguard in play in the organization, maintain the professional independency, gift hospitality. So if somebody say we are offering holidays for you and your family is free, so ignore it. Up to 50 pound worth of the gift is acceptable, otherwise you draw the safeguard. You draw if someone may be influence on your decision, or you morally will be, oh, that guy gave me holidays and you're working in the best interest of them, not at the law. So that's we need to maintain the professional independence. If we have a bribery act, bribery occur when the person is offered or give the promises to give the financial or other advantages to an individual. Bribed being or the contract non-financial. So being bribed another person, being bribe a foreign public official, and failure by the commercial organization to prevent the bribery. So that come under the Bribery Act 2010. It can be imprisonment, acting sufficient evidence. So we have to look around the potential threats, time pressure, insufficient, lack of resources possible. We need to look around the safeguard to draw. Okay, so we need to be look around. Then we have a policy for handling client money. Okay, so guys, try not put the client money in your own account as accountant account, because the client money and you only get the fees in your account, refunds and things try to be put in the client's account, not your account. That's can create a problem and that can be charge you as a. So policies handling the client money. Yes, separation client money should be kept, separate from the money belonging to your personal or the business use. Client money should be used only for the purpose of which they intend to, and accountability your should be ready and all money should be authorized. So we need to be focus on these policies handling client money. Yes, there are the money is investment in the business. You not be regulated. The reason is to believe the criminal properties, and there is no justification. Maybe someone's fraud by the false representation, fraud by the disclosure of information, and false abuse of the position. There can be confidentiality and closure. We need to be make sure we follow the Confidentiality Act. We have a Data Protection Act. We have a GDPR. We have to inform Information and Commission Office. If we don't comply, it can be lead to the criminal proceeding. Confidentiality and closure. We need to make sure client information not disclosed. The third party always work in the best interest of the public. So today lesson was heavily focused about different crime, how we can protect different legislation, and you've been given extra reading these links as well. It's good to please you can click and read. And the next lesson which will go through our LO4, and then the following lesson will do assignment discussion. Thanks for attending today's session. I hope I'll speak you during our next lesson. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye now. Anyone, any question before we finish? No, okay. If you have, drop the email at upuniversity.co.uk. Thank you. Bye bye.